So we're gonna hope that the mic doesn't die here. Oh man. Hey guys. It's really stupid. The Airbnb host that I have right now, this kind of like noise freak type of thing. So like they don't really want, I mean, there's quiet hours at all Airbnbs, but like I feel like this one goes overboard. I'm just too scared to make noise there. So I decided that I would just come outside to do the video. There's a security guard that's like driving close, so we'll see if they say anything, and if they do. So we're back in the car. The guy, security guard, thinks he knows shit and says, "Oh, it's private property. There's no filming of private property." Blah blah blah. It's fine. The one of the reasons why I was gonna do it there was because the Target was in the background, and I have a close friend that lives in New York that I went with them to, like, one night when I was like going back to visit. We had gone to some place and like we were outside of Target and there was like other things going on, but it was fun. So it felt a little safe, you know. There's generally been, there was a park across the street, and I was gonna go there originally, but there's a lot of shady characters there, so I'm like, I'm not about to like do that right now. It's warm enough outside where, you know, like I'm not wearing a heavy jacket and shit. It's super cold still though. Like it's probably like 50, somewhere between 55 and 58. It got up to like 76 earlier today though, which was super cool. I really enjoyed that, but I wasn't outside for super long while that was going on, so there's a lot of thoughts in my head, and I'm not really high energy right now, but for some reason like I'm like being more high energy. Let's try and reconvene a little bit. So the last time I did a video like this was in my old car. That was like when it was like, you know, last days with her. But yeah, my new Prius here, you see the inside. I don't know if it's like more or less, but yeah. I wanted to have like a real heart-to-heart in this video, but like we'll see how much of what I just said I'm gonna like cut and crop and do shit to make it all together. But today is day 101. I just hit a century, and it didn't really occur to me that the day of the century was the century. I was driving from Flagstaff to Phoenix here, and I passed through Sedona, which is like a super popular and happening place. And it's really like, a lot of people like say, oh, it's like such a great place to be, right? And it's definitely a vibe. I didn't like it while I was driving through, but it has a lot of nature stuff, which is what people really love about it. It's like surrounded by these red rocks, which is super cool. And it was almost like a dream location, if you will. So I kind of get why people are like thinking the way they are with it, but I wasn't feeling it, right? And then when I got to Phoenix, I got that big city vibe again, and there's a bunch of homeless people. Like it's not like, it's, other than me enjoying the warmth, like I really don't really care about anything else with the city. Like it has, like the people aren't that bad. Drivers are pretty bad, I would say. Drivers are just as bad as Utah, but that's not here or there. So like I decided that I would try to use this time to rejuvenate and like relax a little bit, rest up, because from here I'm going to San Diego and then LA and then Las Vegas, and after that I'm heading back to Florida for a little bit. So I'm like, it's a lot of high intensity stuff that I'm looking forward to, that if I continue going the way that I am, I'm definitely not going to make the most of it. It's arguably like I haven't been making the most of what I've had so far, but I think that's a different question altogether. One of the things that I'm struggling with is making sense of where I am and if the place that I'm in is affecting me, or if it's just the natural progression of the trip and there's like something else that I'm dealing with at the moment. Like I said, day 101, it's kind of crazy. Going by like a time standard, it would have been about a third of the way through the trip. Well, I'm a little bit more than a quarter way through the trip in terms of states and distance covered. But I'm feeling super tired and like, so the biggest thing, right, that I wanted to say in this video is that I've been dealing with this idea of transitions recently. And when I first started the trip, maybe like within the first 30 days, I had talked about how it was so hard to talk to people who were like not with me on the trip and like conveying all the ideas, and that hasn't really improved much, but I've come to more terms with it in the sense of like I can kind of understand, I can cope with it. Let's just say that much. But the problem itself didn't necessarily get fixed. And one of the things that I'm like thinking about a lot recently is like after the trip ends, I don't want to go back to the same life I had before. And I'm not like trying to force my life to be different, but I want to make sure that I'm growing. And like one of the things that I was like thinking about in that respect recently was like um trying to remember how I was as a kid, and like kid being like 4 years or less. I want to say like 3 years or less, but just around that age, right? Like really, really small. And when I talked to my parents a day or two ago, like I asked them if they had any stories of like they could tell me and like help me remember what I was like back then, to see if like habitually I'm the same person, just like older and like manifested a little bit differently, but like at my core, if I'm still the same person. And I want to say there's more similarities than differences at my core essence of like how I was back then versus how I am now. I definitely have a lot of energy inside of me that I'm like still trying to grapple with. Like my neck pain has dialed down. It's still there, slightly. It comes and goes for sure. Like right now, it's just like right here. It's not my whole thing. I'm definitely able to like deal with it a little bit better, such that it doesn't get as bad as it was before. But like part of the reason why I'm like this in general, like antsy, but like there's probably a different way of describing that, is because there's a lot going on inside of me, and I'm like trying to like handle all of it. The camera fell just now a little bit, so I'm like trying to get it back, but it's fine. So yeah, there's a lot of thoughts that I said that probably weren't complete thoughts. I had all these changes that I wanted to make, sort of like after my 100-day, like my century, like I was gonna do things a little bit differently. Like I had a feeling of how I wanted to be different. I didn't really practically know how I was gonna be different, but I did want to like make more talking videos, and not like long ones like these, but like ones that kind of share a little bit more of the struggle. I feel like I haven't shown a lot of the journey that I've been on, and I would say a decent amount of what's happened so far has been like recorded in the recorded conversations I've had with people, but those are not going to be released before I finish the trip anyway, so it's like there's a lot of missing detail you guys have. And like sticking with the idea of transitions, or just the concept of transitions, it's super strange because I had a lot of big changes that happened in like the last 3 weeks or so. I think the environment, the people, and I mean, just the environment and the people are just so different that like I can't like describe the struggle of like how it is to kind of just like exist in the same area as them and just like passing through. It's like it's hard. And like after Texas, like New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and now Arizona, these states are just so strange. Like I'm not saying strange in a bad way. Like it's just like a vibe that like I can't really like, I wasn't really on the same page with for a lot of it, for most of it. There were a lot of cool things that happened too. And I feel like after Arizona, like going into California, I'm already dreading it as much as there's so much that I want to do there. The parts that I'm dreading are just like, it's like you're going into a different country, honestly. Like California, just like the way Airbnb is set up is stupid. The way that like planning for roads and shit is also stupid. And like um there's a mentality that I'm getting from people who've come from there, and also people who are like telling me about people that they know there, that it's just like I don't feel ready for that sort of transition either. And the point's not to necessarily be ready for the transition. I think just going back to the point of like not wanting to be the same person or doing the same things, going back to the same life I had before afterwards. I'm trying to see like what part of this whole experience that I want to take with me. And a lot of it's just going to stay in my past because it was a means of growing. But after you grow, you don't necessarily need the thing that you used to grow anymore. So I'm thinking about one of my coworkers from my last job. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. But like he would say, you're thinking too hard, and like it's not necessarily that I'm strung up on any part of these details per se, but like there's a point that I'm trying to get to that he would say that, oh, it's really it doesn't matter, but I think it does. And I want to at least capture some of these thoughts here so that like people that are like looking at this whole thing knows it's not just whatever they're seeing. Like there's more behind whatever it is they're seeing too. The big thing that I have to do though for new videos, however long they are, is some planning, which I haven't been doing with these videos, which is why they kind of like go in all kinds of different directions. We've talked about the spontaneous nature versus planning nature and just like what comes from both sides at different times. There's something that I'm looking for, but for the sake of other people who may look at this at different times in society, growth, I would say, and like, let's say now versus like 20 years from now or 30 years from now, whatever it is. I'll say I was talking to Mo from my last Airbnb in Flagstaff, and one of the things that came up in our conversation was the idea that like growth takes time, learning takes time, and nothing happens kind of like overnight. Like that's a thing that people know, right? And like judging someone from where they are and not where they're heading to is not considering the whole picture. And everyone comes from somewhere that most other people won't be able to understand. I'm gonna stop this for now. I can't really get any farther. I've said that before too, and generally I've gotten farther in the days that follow, at least. So we're gonna see if that continues to happen. And I'm gonna try to get some rest. I should be resting right now, but you know, uh, trying to make the most of things even while I'm resting. So I guess till next time, this is your boy Nikomia signing off.